Good morning. Happy Tuesday. Here in Santa Cruz, we are deep into the 6th week of shelter in place. It's becoming normal. The new normal, I guess you'd call it. Very strange, but, well, there you have it. This is our weekly senior fitness class, or our weekly installment of senior fitness. And we send this far and wide, so I would encourage everyone that sees this, if you have people in your lives that are, say, 65 and older especially, that are stuck at home and are uncertain about what they can do for movement and to help keep their immune system strong and vibrant, then I'm going to encourage you to share this with as many groups, organizations, family, friends as you can. In fact, our kids' PE class that we teach on a weekly basis has been part of our county's Office of Education resource for all the PE teachers and teachers alike. In fact, all the classes we have here are resources for our community, whether it's the fire department, the hospital staff and administration, or, like I said, the teachers and the kids around. Please, this stuff that we're doing, I would love it if we just were able to share it with as many people as possible. So, without further ado, senior fitness, we're going to start just like we have in the previous classes or weeks with rubbing and scrubbing. And what we're doing right now is imagining that you're maybe standing in a shower and you've got a bar of soap and you want to cover your entire body with that bar. Because what I'm doing right now, we just simply call it rub and scrub. We're just rubbing the body to kind of awaken all the nerve endings that are at the surface of your body. Now, by waking those nerve endings up, what will happen is the body becomes a little bit more alive. I'm going to start up at the top of my head and kind of scrub my scalp, get onto the back side of the neck, make sure I grab my ears into my face, nice little scrubbing action there. Because what begins to happen, the less we move, the less ignited or awake these nerve endings are. Now, there's certain areas of your body that you move more frequently than others, and therefore those nerve endings are going to be a lot more awake or alert. But there are plenty of other places around the rest of your body that don't necessarily get the excitement or the movement, and therefore they kind of get dull and they fall asleep. Now, the brain has what we might consider a map, a neural map of the body. And as you continue to rub, I'll continue to talk. But what that neural map does is it gives the brain information about what's happening with the body and where the body is in space. So, by just getting all these nerve endings just through tactile sensation, through basic touch, we get to really wake up the whole body. And isn't that a nice place to start any exercise? So if you've done that with me right now, just take a moment and just get a sense of what that feels like now that you've done that. Because right now I'm kind of tingling and I'm a little bit more alert. My energy is up a little bit more. There's probably a few naysayers going, I didn't feel a darn thing. Well, that's fine. Do it more often and maybe you'll feel more. It could be that your nervous system is just so dulled because you've been sitting too long and this is about to stop. Okay. The other thing I'd talk about with this rubbing and scrubbing, in terms of our immune system, because that is a big topic these days, how do we keep our immune system vibrant? Did you know that the skin is one of the largest parts of your immune system? That means not only is it keeping a barrier from pollutants, toxins, and other things that are trying to get into our body, but it's keeping not only the bad stuff out, but it's keeping the good stuff in. That's why we have scarring and a whole bunch of other stuff that occurs when we get a cut or a scratch or anything else. Now, the skin is covered with dry skin cells. And that means the skin doesn't breathe very well. Those pores are kind of clogged. So what you could do is simply this. If you happen to have a sponge, a dry sponge, like a real sponge from the ocean, or a loofah of some sort, something that's a little bit on the rough side, and you just dry rubbed your skin to get the skin cells off, and probably do them outside on your front or back step. And you don't want all that dust kind of accumulating in the house. But if you were just to slough off the dry skin cells, that would actually enhance your skin's ability to work in terms of functioning as part of your immune system. So there you have it. In fact, tomorrow, this being Tuesday, yes, Wednesday afternoon at 1 o'clock, I have a weekly webinar with a colleague of mine from Southern California. Her name is Peggy Hall. And this week in particular, we are actually talking about how to keep the immune system at its optimal best. So if you want to tune in there, you can check this same Facebook page out. There will be a link tomorrow giving you access to a free webinar where we just sit and chat 1 o'clock Pacific time for about an hour. In this case, it's going to be about the immune system. Okay, we're going to start off with a little neurological drill, neurological training. I'm going to take my thumbs and I'm going to stand, I think roughly right about here, and I'm going to have my thumbs near the edge of the screen. Now hopefully, maybe you've got yourself a fairly big screen. If you're working off of a smartphone, well, that's okay. You may want to just keep it fairly far away. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on your reflexes in terms of your vision. You can see both thumbs here, and what you're going to be doing is more or less staring right at the center of my chest. I don't want you staring at the thumbs. The thumbs are going to be in the periphery, where they're not in your focal vision. Your focal vision is going to be here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to wiggle a finger like so, maybe on one side, then the other. And your goal here is from this point of vision, you're going to immediately look at the thumb that wiggles, and then look back to the center point of my chest. And we're going to do this for about 1 minute. Ready? Here we go. And then back to the chest. Back to the chest. As soon as you see movement, you lock onto that target, and then you bring your gaze back to center. This is a very primitive, instinctive reflex that we have had for thousands of generations. We're almost there. About 15 more seconds. Beautiful. Okay. Now, the reason for that particular movement or drill is that we're trying to get your reflexes more fine-tuned, very acute. Have you ever just been sitting at home and suddenly a bird flits by the window and your attention is drawn immediately to the movement? Nothing in your room was moving, so there was no attention being drawn anywhere in the room itself. But as soon as something flits by your vision, you have to lock on. And the reason why we do that in a reflexive manner is because we need to know, primitively speaking, whether that's predator or prey. So we need to be able to focus on something real quick and then return our gaze. Now that type of movement is a very nice stimuli to feed up to your brain. And when you are very astute at allowing the vision to lock on to targets wherever they are, your brain feels a lot safer. And the cool thing is when the brain is in a safe zone or in the zone, strength increases, balance improves, range of motion improves, your peripheral field will expand. There's a whole bunch of things the brain controls. This isn't smoke and mirrors, it's not voodoo or magic. It's actually neurology, knowing how the brain reacts and can we feed information into it. So let's do another one, but this time instead of the vision, we're going to deal with the inner ear, or what we call the vestibular system. We have these chambers nestled right beside the acoustic system of your ears. And these chambers, vestibules shaped, come into play what we call the vestibular system. And that helps to know where our head is in space, as well as which way is up, which way is down, and if we're moving through space for that matter. So we're going to do a little bit of a test first, an assessment. And let's just check in with a person's balance. For me, I'm just going to balance on one leg and get a sense of the quality of my balance on that single leg. If you are feeling like that's very advanced and you feel unsafe, of course, you can have a little bit of support with the seat back of a chair nearby so that your hands, they know that's there. Check in with your balance and see what that's like. Now, maybe there's a few of you that are saying, well, that is a little bit too intense still, even holding on. Well, you can have both feet down on the ground and just see what it's like with both feet together. If you feel like that is a little challenge, that's fine. We're looking for some place, some balance point where you're feeling a little bit challenged. It's not too easy and not too hard. Because what we're going to do now is we're going to tilt the head in different directions, and then we'll check back in with the balance to see if those directions improved your balance. Many balance exercises are all about trying to stand on one leg and reach here and there. That's all well and good. However, there's other ways that the brain achieves a better sense of balance to control the body. Getting better signals through the vestibular system and the visual system are key ingredients. In fact, that's where we retain most of the control with our balance. So, without further ado, I'm going to just stand in a comfortable place, feet underneath me, and I'm going to have my head level. I'm going to be staring straight across the room at something at eye level. And what I'm going to quickly do is I'm going to tilt my head forward, and then I'll slowly bring it back up again. Tilt my head forward, and slowly return back to the neutral place. I'm going to try and do about maybe 4 or 5 of these repetitions. And now I'm going to recheck my balance. Did your balance improve or did it degrade? If it degraded, well, that was quite a lot of stimuli, more than your brain was willing to handle at that time. It responded by a threat situation and caused your balance to waver a little bit. It's not a bad thing, but we know that if it improved your balance, that may be a good thing to do prior to exercise, because you want to have good balance before you work out. If it diminished your balance, well, we may want to work on that movement near the end of your exercise program to improve the vestibular stimuli going to the brain. Let's do the same thing, but with your head tilting backwards now. Still keeping my eyes fixated on something eye level, tilting the head back, and then slowly drawing it forward. Tilt back, and slowly draw forward. Now, some of us may find it very challenging to stay focused on an object across the room. What we'll most likely see is that the eyes go with the head motion. That tells you that your eyes and head have a challenge at disassociating movements from one another. Check your balance once again. Did that improve or did that degrade your balance? And these are very subtleties that we're talking about. You're not going to find that your balance is all over the place suddenly and then perfect the next. You'll see a very subtle degradation or improvement. Okay, that's 2. We're going forward and backwards. We've got a couple more. Tell you what, let's do diagonal forward in both directions, and then we'll go diagonal back in both directions, and that'll be it for the vestibular assessments and drills. So I'm going to turn my head to my left, and I'm going to drop my chin toward this chest or toward the armpit, the crease of my arm. So here, and then bring the head back up. Tilt, and then up, tilt, up. Remember to come up slowly. We're trying to slosh those chambers as we drive forward, and not in both directions. Check your balance. That one's more challenging for me. I can definitely feel my foot working harder on that. Let's turn the head to the right, and you're going to drop the chin down quickly, still staring at that object that's out in front of you. So my eyes are going in that direction, head turned over, tilt, and then come back up. Now, interestingly enough, I found that I couldn't maintain my fixed gaze on that object And I feel myself wobbling around on that side. So now I have two areas that I might want to take a little time near the end of the workout or on another occasion to start to work on feeding a little bit more movement and getting my brain accustomed to those type of head positions. Okay, last two. You're going to turn your head to the right, but this time you're going to take the back of your head and you're going to tilt it back and then come back up again. And it's a quick tilt back. Balance check, reassess. That actually got better. Last one, turn the head to the left, staring straight ahead still, and then the back of the head dips back to the right. Almost like you've got really long hair and you're throwing that hair back over your head. Give me a little attitude. All right, great. Let's check that side out. Wow, solid for me. So out of all those movements, I found that turning my head in a diagonal fashion, driving forward to the left or forward to the right, are the places that I'm more challenged with. I will put those off on the shelf for the time being. If in the future you're working out on your own and you found a couple of head positions that worked really well and improved your balance, I would have those be kind of your neurological warm-up routine prior to any other movement. Okay. Let's get on to a little bit of shoulder action. We call this the shoulder cam. And just like a camshaft, the arm is going to stay rigid at the elbow and at the wrist, and the movement is going to come from the shoulder. Similar to an old locomotive that attaches both wheels of the engine together. The shoulder is going to lift up, extend forward, drop down, and retract back. So up, forward, down, and back. Now this may appear rather basic, elementary, or easy, but you may be surprised just how much coordination is required to get those camshaft actions going. Let's reverse directions for about 5 or 6 more. So this time, the shoulder lifts up as it retracts, it depresses or drops, and then extends forward. So now, elbow still maintaining a nice straight position. And this is just with the arm in one position. I could do camshafts or shoulder cams with my arm out here, my arm out here, my arm up here, or down here. Today, we're just going at shoulder level. So let's do the other arm now. We're going to go up, extend forward, depress, and retract back. So from a profile, can you still keep that elbow straight and have it primarily from the shoulder? And then reverse directions, retracting at the top, depressing at the bottom, and extending through. Are you able to keep the other arm out of the equation, or is that moving? Can you just use the shoulder itself, and the shoulder being the collarbone, the humerus of the arm bone, and the shoulder blade, the scapula? That's really the 3 bones that make up the shoulder. All right. Out of curiosity, I'm just going to check my balance again. Because movements can improve your balance too. They can degrade it too, depending upon how the brain receives the stimuli. Okay, we're going to get on to a little bit of flexing and extending through the spine. So often we start to sit, and before we know it, we've collapsed into our posture. So we're going to feel what it's like to collapse into that position so that we know what it feels like to get out of it. For many of us, we, again, have this tendency to spend too much time in front of a screen or drive steering wheel or dinner table for that matter, and we may find this position here. It's important that we move through both ranges of motion, flexing and extending, to give the muscles an experience of what they need to be doing. As we flex the spine, the muscles along the spine and the back are now lengthened under weight, under load. The load of my upper body is weighing down on it. That stimulates these nerve cells to cause them to shorten and contract back to here. Just like as I extend the spine upward, the muscles on the front now feel what it's like to lengthen under load as well. So as the spine extends, I can even externally rotate the hands to help encourage the shoulders back. And then reverse directions, allowing the arms to turn inward, rounding the shoulders forward, allowing the rib cage and chest to drop to create that nice spinal flexion. If that's a little bit too demanding or challenging in a standing position, we can do the same thing here in a seated position. What is it like to push the rib cage back? And then bring the sternum or chest forward. What you'll see, hopefully, is that my head doesn't go forward and backwards, but almost just a little bit up and down. As I flex, you may see me lowering downward and not going forward. And as I come into extension, the head comes up without going back. It may do you well to put your fingers right in the center of your chest and gently push inward to create that flexion, and almost think of pulling forward and upward on the way back. So there's our little mobility drill to just get the spine moving. If that felt uncomfortable in your lower back, it could be for a variety of reasons, but one in particular, it may be that the lower back was trying to do all the movement. So can you get the mid-back to perform the movement and not have it all just bunching up in the lower back? That's going to be one of those things to try and work on, to try and free up the areas that are fixated and locked up, which often is the case in the middle back. Okay, so we're going to work on a little bit of stepping action next. Some might call it lateral lunging. Yeah, I'm going to bring Jose in for the mix here. Now, Jose Renero is one of our trainers here. He's been leading a whole bunch of classes throughout the week. And in fact, he did one yesterday morning at 7 a.m. called Athletic Conditioning. So if anybody's an athlete out there and you want the basic skill sets to be conditioned, that's the class for you. So Jose, we're going to do a lateral lunge. And imagining that he is on a clock with 3 and 9 o'clock off to his sides, that's going to be more or less the stepping direction he's going to take. Now, as you step out there, I want you to bring your weight over onto that leg by bending into the knee. Beautiful. And then just come on back with both feet together. And then try the same thing on the opposite side. Excellent. Excellent. Okay. Now, in order for him to maintain balance, you could see that he came here, and rather than maintain an upright position, he's leaning forward in order to get his hips back. That's cool. I'm going to encourage him to do something a little bit different now to challenge his balance. We're going to have him do a little bit of a step to the side, but with the opposite hand of the stepping leg, he can come over and just touch his knee and then push back on up. So, go ahead and step to your left or right, touch. Good, and then drive on up again. Now, we're not looking for a huge lunge or major decrease or how would I say it, going down toward the ground very deep. That's okay if you want to, if you have the ability to. We're not looking for you to get into any pain, and definitely don't want you to compromise how safe you feel. You want to be safe yet challenged. So speaking of challenging, I can see he's not challenged very much by touching his knee. So Jose, this time, I want you to come down and maybe touch your toe with the opposite hand. So when you step to the left, the right hand touches. There we go. And then bring yourself back up. Step to the right and the left hand touches. So really what we're trying to train here is the ability of you to manage the mass of your body against gravity, against the force you generate and the momentum you create with your body in motion, which is essentially what we're talking about with fall prevention. Now, I've just chosen side-to-side motion. We're going to change that in a minute. But you can see by Jose going back and forth here, his muscles and joints, everything is understanding what must occur in order for him to basically lose his balance and re-catch himself without hitting the ground. Beautiful. Okay, Jose, what I'd like you to do instead now is you're just going to be stepping forward on that clock to 12 o'clock with one foot, and I would like you to come down and touch your knees with both hands. and then just push on back. Beautiful. The cool thing here is that he can use his hands to help support himself a little bit to reduce any kind of angry knee situation that might occur. Now, hopefully that's not occurring with most of you here, and definitely we don't want any knee pain or, for that matter, any other pain to occur when we're moving. That would be kind of defeating the purpose. So if there is joint motion that is causing a little discomfort, we may want to decrease the amount of step or depth in which you're creating. All right, it's looking like he's not very challenged here as well. So Jose, let's take at least one hand down to the foot that you're stepping. That's it. Beautiful. And then push back on up. It almost looks like he's getting ready to run a race. All right. So as he's going back and forth, looking good, he's using that forward leg to slow all his body weight down and to prevent him from falling. Now, how many times throughout our life have we not paid attention to where we are stepping, whether it's the berm of a sidewalk or kids' toys around the house or maybe the lazy dog in the middle of the night? You just come up on it and then you lose your balance and you thrust yourself forward with momentum. And then you got to catch yourself. So it's a great exercise, not only for building strength, but by inducing some type of good full body coordination and preventing falls. Okay. Let's go on to a push-up. So we're going to use that chair right there if you could. And if you've got a sturdy chair like this one, it's not going to topple over. That's it, just like that. And what we're going to do is we're just going to do some simple push-ups. Now, what I would like to see is that Jose positions himself in such a way where his body is straight. Now, you could use a wall if that's too low for you, or a countertop a little bit higher. Basically, we're going to use objects that get you lower and lower toward the ground to increase the demand over time. But what I'd like you to do, Jose, is you're just going to lower your body toward that backrest and then press away again. All right, and you've got enough strength where if I just let you keep going, you'll just go on forever. So let's go for about a minute, and I'll chat as we're doing this. Now, there's a few. We've got this thing going on here that if I say the word now, I have to do a push-up. Sorry about that. There you go. I think I said it a couple times already, so I'm just, for the sake of it, I'm just going to do a couple more push-ups and learn my lesson. Okay. As he's performing his push-up, he could be thinking of pushing his body away from the chair. However, I'm going to encourage a different mindset. Jose, as you're doing this push-up, I want you to think of pushing the chair or the planet away from you. Does that make a difference in how it feels?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah? Okay. As long as the chair's not going anywhere. Yeah.
I'm actually moving the earth.
Okay. Wow, you're an earth mover. That's not what we're looking for, but that's good. I like that. If you were doing this against a wall or the floor, some immovable object, having that mindset of not pushing your body off that object, but pushing the object away from you, has a tendency to give you a stronger response. The other thing you could do is tighten up the backside muscles back there where your hip pockets are. Just squeeze those muscles a little bit more, and does that make a difference for you? Whoa. Instantly, you could see that. He almost popped off the chair. Wow, all right. So by engaging the muscles around the pelvic girdle, specifically the gluteals, those buttock muscles, you engage a whole bunch of other muscles that encourage better performance in the push-up. That's kind of nice. Beautiful. Okay, that's great. Simple way of working on dealing with the deep muscles along your body that connect your shoulders to your feet, or for that matter, your head all the way down to the toes. We might call them core muscles. That is, in essence, kind of a moving plank exercise. Let's do a different type of plank exercise where you're going to be rotating your body. In this same kind of push-up position, you're going to have your feet apart, and what I would like you to do is you're going to pivot your feet toward the camera and take that hand and reach back behind you. And then bring yourself back to the chair with both feet pointing straight ahead. And now pivot. There you go. That's it, exactly like that. Now we can stay on one side, or we can rotate back and forth. Staying on one side is going to demand the same work over and over on one side. So it could be considered more demanding on certain muscles. However, alternating side to side could be more demanding on coordination and balance. So by doing a combination of both, maybe I'll stay with 5 or so on one side, then do 5 on the other side. And if I were to revisit this exercise for a second round, I may want to alternate back and forth just to kind of feed some novel movements into this routine, because the brain loves novelty. That's great. That is super. We call that T rotation or T stabilization. We're really working on the shoulder girdle to stabilize as well as all the muscles going down the rest of the body. Beautiful. Okay. Well, I think it's time we get to the floor. We have ourselves a pad. I'll take it out because Jose has been working out hard, and I swear, I'm surprised the skin on your knees still exists. So we're going to make his world a little bit happier. And we're going to take out a little bit of an exercise mat. Nice accordion one. Okay. Jose. Well, isn't he spry, young buck? He just jumps down to the floor. He's not remembering that, well, he's only been on the planet, 3 decades maybe? Yeah. Imagine if he was there a little bit longer with us. Let's do this. Let's use the chair in such a way that it can assist you in getting down to the ground. Because I think that a lot of people refuse to get to the floor because, one, it's scary to try and lower your body down there. It's been a while since you were down there, and maybe the coordination is just lacking a little bit. So you're going to place one hand on the chair and then place one knee down. Great. And then you can use one hand onto the floor and gently bring your body down and lay on the floor to start off with. Okay. Believe it or not, folks, this is probably the greatest exercise in any senior fitness routine around. If you just simply get to the ground and stand back up again over and over throughout your life, you'll be working your entire body, you'll be coordinating a whole bunch of things within your body, and you'll feel comfortable getting down to the floor, and you'll know what to do when you're down there. Speaking of which, let's flip you over now so that's it, and let's flip you back over onto your back. Change my mind, let's flip you over and flip you back. So a rolling exercise could be a fantastic way of waking up the core, and it's kind of working on your vestibular system because we got that rotation, and working on the core muscles, and you're getting just familiar with how it feels to lay down and flip over and come on up. Okay, enough goofing off. Let's flip you over one more time, get you up on your hands and knees. And what we're going to do now is we're going to do some basic movements that, well, essentially what we've been doing all along. We've been starting with the basic movements that we did when we were infants. We were on our back and we learned to flip over and flip over again. Now let's learn how to crawl. So we're going to do some crawling. You're going to keep your knees on the ground for the time being. You're going to lift your head up as if you're a baby, looking all around because you have no idea what's around you, and this is an amazing environment. You've never seen this before. By lifting up his head, can you see what's occurred to his back? It's extended, it's lengthened, it's opened up. His shoulder girdle is now in a much more responsive, stable place. Yes. And here's what I'd like you to do, Jose. You're only going to go to the edge of the pad here, but you're going to try and coordinate one hand and the opposite knee lifting off the ground at the same time. Brilliant. Now reverse directions. This is great coordination exercise. Beautiful. And reverse directions again, going forward. Now, what did he do that he's not aware of? He dropped his head. Yes. So here's what I'm going to like you to do, is you got to keep that head up. You know the ground is below you. You have confidence that it's there. And I'm not going to pull the rug out from under you. So none of you should be looking down either. We should be extending through our spine as we're crawling. Good. Look how proud of a baby posture he has right now. That is, I want to come over and just goo with you. That's fantastic. That's it. You're just peeling back the years every time you take a step. That's awesome. One more time forward. That'll be good. Keeping that head up. Keeping that head up. That's it. Looking for where mama is. Okay. Brilliant. There's our crawling. Crawling action is fantastic. Now, how can we make this a little bit more demanding? We're going to mimic crawling, but just extend his circumstances, his appendages. Here's what we're going to do. We call it the bird dog. This is where you're going to be on all fours, and it's going to require some stability, strength, and coordination. Jose, I would like you to reach forward with one hand as if there's somebody else and you want to shake their hand. Now, at the same time, I would like you to take your opposite leg and reach back as far as you feel comfortable. And then come on back so the knee and hand touch the ground. That's it. And we're just going to repeat that. Same arm, same opposite leg, going out and then coming back down. Good. As you do this, can you focus on lifting the hand and knee at the exact same moment? And touching at the exact same moment? Yes. Now that may sound fairly basic, but there's several people that we give this exercise to, and because of their instability, they may find that they lift one hand and then the leg, or they lift the leg and then the hand, because it's a lot easier that way. Now we've got alternating actions going on. One hand with the opposite leg, just like before. So this is focusing a lot of strength and stability on those opposing quadrants. Now we could do alternating back and forth, which may be even more demanding. Cool. All right, that was great. Well, let's do this then. We're going to do a little bit of flexibility work. How's that? Okay, no, you're good. Stay right where you are. I'm going to bring this chair. You're going to be lying down on your back. And you can bring your feet up onto the cushion. I know you got your shoes on, but for once we'll just forget that rule about shoes on the furniture. Okay. What I would like you to do, Jose, is bring the feet a little closer to yourself so that your knees are directly over the hips. Great. You could probably do this in bed in the early morning hours if you got enough pillows to prop up under your legs to create these right angle positions that we're seeing here. With his head and back resting on the cushion with his hips, the floor is actually realigning his posture in a very subtle way. Gravity is pulling him against the straight edge that we have him resting upon. You can bring your arms out away from your body so that we open up the chest. Because this is what we're going to do. We're going to really work on trying to open up your body to help with the posture alignment and to maybe make some of those little aches and pains disappear. Take one ankle and cross it over the opposite knee if you would. There we go. Okay. Beautiful. Now, most likely, he is feeling a bit of a stretch. Right there, yes! Right there. The tattoo marks the spot, I guess. All right, just down into that hip there. What I might encourage him to do is just take that knee and just draw it in my direction without the use of your hands. Yes. So what he's doing is he's actually engaging the muscles to create a better balance of tension around his pelvis. We have 57 muscles that cross the pelvis, 12 of which go up to the ribs, the spine, the arms. The other 45 go down into the legs. And they're like spokes on a wheel. And right now we are trying to balance out the tension in his spokes so his wheel is not so warped. Especially being a runner, the last thing you want to do is be running with a warped wheel. If we can true up his spokes to make his balance better, oh, those runs are going to be better. Let's switch legs and do the same thing to the other side. I saw a little tear forming in the corner of his eye right there. I felt bad for him, so we had to switch over. Okay. He crossed one leg over the opposite first. Was it the easier side? Yes, he says it was the easier side compared to this side, which is what most people are going to do because we have patterns. There's certain ways that we move that we're not familiar with. We just do it out of habit. And those habitual patterns begin to kind of pull our bodies out of alignment. And the more out of alignment they get, the more that's reinforced. So the more patterns we develop. When we ask somebody to cross their ankle over the opposite knee, more often than not, they go with the one they are most proficient or habitually crossing. The second side is almost always the more demanding. Okay, another tear is forming. So here's what I'd like you to do. Just stay where you are. I'm going to pull the chair away, and you just take your foot flat on the floor so that your knee stays bent. Beautiful. If you would, Do the same at home. That would be great. Take the foot that's crossed right now before moving anywhere. I'd just like you to slide the foot back so the sole of your foot and your thigh are flush with each other. Okay. The foot that's on the ground is kind of like a door hinge. It can't lift or move anywhere, but it can pivot. So I would ask you to allow that pivot to occur, to bring this foot and the thigh all the way down to the ground. If by chance that you are struggling to get all the way to the floor, the shoulder comes off, or whatever the case may be, you can take a pillow and you can just prop it underneath the leg and the foot in order to keep the shoulders on the ground and to still come over to the degree that you can. And over time, we just use a smaller and smaller and smaller pillow, and then eventually move the pillow out of the way so that your body can come all the way down. That's great. Let's go ahead and press gently into the floor with both arms. Feel these muscles engage. Rotate the hip and foot back up. Switch legs. Again, making sure that the sole of the foot of that crossed one is flush with the outer thigh. Rotating on over. Good. The leg that's on the ground wants to try to relax as much as possible. The foot that came along and contacted the ground wants to be flat on the sole. And the knee that's still sticking up in the air, we're just going to encourage it to push gently away from the torso so that the leg tries to point up toward the ceiling. If you want a full lengthening of the spine, you could take your head and turn it in the opposite direction that the hips are going. So now we've got this kind of wringing out of tension like a wash rag along his spine while he's opening up the hips. Sometimes there may be heard a little pop or crack because as we start to apply balance to muscles, they are attached to bones, and so bones may shift here and there. As long as there's no pain with these, I think we're all right. Okay, we're going to have you rotate back up, uncrossing the legs. That's beautiful. Tell you what, Jose, you can flip to your side, and before we get up completely, there is this chair here. So if you need it, by all means, you can use it to come on up again. There we go. Yes, don't try and be brave and just come up out of without any assistance. If you need assistance, by all means, just reduce how much assistance you need over time so that you grow a little bit stronger and more coordinated with those actions. All right. Jose is a runner, and that means his ankles and calf muscles and feet take a pounding. So we're going to try and open up those ankles a little bit with what we call the calf matrix or the ankle matrix. Jose, what if you were to just come on over to this post here? We'll get the cameras turned in that direction. And yeah, that's good, just like that. Now, darn it, I almost had it. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, there we go. I'll stand 6 feet away here. Now, a daze. Okay, while I'm doing 6 more push-ups, I would like you to have 1 foot forward, 1 foot back in a stride position. I should mention that a big part of the workout this morning I led was all about push-ups. You would think I would have learned my lesson. Okay, we're going to take our attention onto the back foot here. We're not so concerned about the forward foot. In fact, Jose, let's bring that back foot just a little forward so it's not so angled or flexed. In this position, I would like you to gently bring your body forward and back. He's got quite a bit of range of motion in his ankle. It's a lot more than others may have. So do not use him as a gauge for your own motion. But what we're right now doing is just giving his ankle an experience of moving forward and back. Remember, we live in 3-dimensional space. So we not only move forward, but we can move sideways. So Jose, what I'd like you to do is you're going to take your forward leg, step slightly off to your left, and let your hips go along for the ride. So you're shifting to the left while keeping the back foot on the floor. Then take that forward leg and just step to the right a little bit and bring the hips in my direction, keeping the foot flat. And then I would like you to go back and forth with that stepping, shifting action for maybe 4 or 5 repetitions per each side. There we go. And now you can see that ankle is getting this experience of anatomically how it's termed as inversion and eversion. That back ankle is feeling what it's like to side bend in left and right directions while staying flat on the ground. So all that tissue along the ankle bone, underneath the ankle, is really getting this really nice gift of awareness. Okay, we've got 2 down. We've just got 1 to go. Oh, no, you're fine. We've got 3 dimensions. I know runners live in 2-dimensional space, but don't worry, I'm going to excite you to the 3rd dimension now. Here's what I'd like you to do. You're still going to step a little bit to your left and right with that forward leg. However, when you come across in my direction, I want you to turn the foot in my direction. So that's it. And turn the hips and belly button. Beautiful. Wow, double jointed. I love it. And then you're going to go to the other side and turn to the left. That's it. So can you just allow your body to rotate on top of that ankle? That's it. If you feel this anywhere but the ankle, say perhaps in the knee, then the knee is trying to do more movement than it needs to. Maybe the ankle is that fixated, that locked up, that the knee has been trying to do the work of an ankle all this time. My recommendation is don't try and force it so much. Ease off of the movement and see by just peeling back the intensity, can you feed the movement into your ankle? There's no sense in muscling through and making another area work in place of somewhere else because you'll just be reinforcing that compensatory action that draws in a whole bunch of trouble. Beautiful. Go ahead and walk around for just a moment, Jose, and we'll come back and do the same thing on the other foot. Does that feel good? Kind of nice. Light on your foot now? I would say feet, but the other foot's probably clumping on the ground now. Let's do the same thing to the other side. So with his left leg back, right leg forward, he's just going to ease forward and backwards. And you can do this at the kitchen sink for that matter, while you're waiting for the coffee to brew, or if you're like me, you've got some bird houses outside the kitchen window and you can just watch the birds feed in the afternoon. Anytime you go watch the birds, just make yourself a pact, a deal, that anytime I look out the kitchen window, I'm going to do a few of these movements. Let's see what side-to-side action is like. There we go. And just shifting left to right. The nice thing about a kitchen counter is you can slide your hands along the counter compared to, say, a signpost or a post like this, where you continually have to kind of re-establish hand positions. That's great. And then let's do rotational motion. Let's feed some rotation into that ankle, turning to the right, turning to the left. That looks very nice. Maybe 1 or 2 more. Okay. So Jose, we're going to have you walk around for just a second, get a sense of how that feels. Hopefully you feel a little bit lighter on the feet, but more grounded. We're going to move on to getting the back of the legs. This will be the last thing we pretty much do in a standing position. We'll finish seated here, but you're going to just assume that position that I just placed, whichever side you'd like is fine. Outside leg, great. We're going to flex the foot back toward you, and you've got the seat back there to hold on to for added support or balance. So yeah, go ahead and scoot yourself forward if you need to. Beautiful. You can do this by a wall, at your desk, between 2 walls, like a door frame might be good too. Wherever you feel safe is the biggest thing. Flexing the foot back, all I'm going to ask you to do is simply just let yourself lean forward with your torso, and then come back up. Okay, you can see by his face that was a wonderful sensation. Not really. Okay. How can we make this a little bit nicer? One is, go ahead, straighten out your leg. There you go. And all I want you to do is, instead of kind of bowing forward, I want you to push your rib cage back. Is that better?
Yep.
Yes, that's very nice. So he's not getting that tearing, burning stretch sensation, which is not what we're looking for anyway. We're looking to just give the hamstring an idea of how it should lengthen while it's swinging the leg forward. That's beautiful. Now, in that same position, just hold on to the seat back and just let your hips glide a little bit to the left and to the right. It doesn't have to be huge motion, but just see what the hamstrings feel like when you do that. Good. And then just give me a little bit of a turning of the hips to the left and to the right. There we go. So just like the calf matrix that we did, getting the muscle tissue to experience a length going forward and backward, side to side, and rotating left and right, we're doing the same thing to the hamstring. Okay, we'll swing you around, do the same thing on the other leg if you would. That's it, just bring it around. Beautiful. Oh, yes. I think in the book Joy of Running, they missed a chapter on flexibility, but I'm not sure. I got to look back in there. So there we have it, forward and backwards, and you only have to do a few repetitions, and then give me a little side-to-side action. Let me know how that is. All the while encouraging that knee to stay extended. That's it. And then give me a few more of rotation. Good. As you rotate in my direction, do be careful not to bend that knee. There. Good. He's an amazing athlete, and even there proves a point that no matter how well toned and conditioned you are, if you're not staying aware of how your body moves, you're going to default into certain patterns. In Jose's case, not allowing for those hamstrings to open up. That's a challenging one. So he would bend the knee to reduce that at times. Beautiful. Jose, go ahead and have a seat in the chair facing this direction. We'll finish up with one last thing. Just as a recap, we've worked on your immune system by rubbing and scrubbing and awakening the nervous system. We've worked on the visual field as well as your reflexes and your ability to maintain upright posture through working on your vestibular system. We did a whole bunch of fall prevention movements. Now let's just finish with a little bit of relaxive breathing. We'll just call this balloon breathing. I would like you to just place your hands right on your midsection and breathing in through the nostrils for maybe 2 seconds or so. Feel the air breathe into the belly like it's a balloon. And then as you exhale through the nostrils preferably, let that balloon just deflate. And I'd like you to do this for about 5 repetitions. Breathing in for 2 seconds and exhaling for maybe 3 or 4 seconds. Exhaling more than the inhale. That's it. For most people, this will help the gas balance or the gas exchange in the body. There you go. Breathing in and breathing out. It's a nice way to settle things down also after an exercise program. There you have it. We've worked on the nervous system through the visual field, the vestibular system, and what we call proprioception, your ability to move through space. We've moved through in several different ways to support the deeper muscles along the body from the head to the toes. We've worked on some of the larger muscles, and we've worked on your coordination. Some simple things you can do at home. So I hope to see you next Tuesday at 11 here for Senior Fitness. I'm Rocky Snyder. This is Jose Renero, and thank you for coming to Rocky's Fitness Center fan page. Remember that we have something going on almost every day of the week. We'll see you later.